Hey everyone. Welcome to AfriHeart Stories, your go-to spot for African tales. Don't forget to like, subscribe and drop a comment. Now sit back and enjoy. The bells rang across the small village, echoing with joy and promise. Colorful ribbons fluttered in the breeze, and laughter rose from every corner of the courtyard. Today was a day everyone would remember, the wedding of Asha, the humble daughter of a farmer, to Arjun, the son of a wealthy merchant family. Asha stood before the mirror, her hands trembling slightly as she adjusted the red veil across her head. Her eyes shimmered with a mixture of nervousness and hope. Behind her, her cousin teased, "You look like a queen. Don't worry, your new family will adore you." Asha smiled faintly. "I hope so. I just want to be a good wife." The wedding procession was nothing short of grand. Drums thundered, petals rained down, and the crowd cheered as Arjun entered with confidence. He looked regal, his tall frame commanding attention. Asha's father, though poor, had spared no effort to make this day beautiful. When Arjun lifted her veil during the ceremony, his eyes didn't soften as she had expected. Instead, there was something unreadable, something cold lingering beneath his polite smile. Asha brushed it aside. "He's just nervous," she told herself. As the rituals concluded, guests showered blessings. "May you be the light of his household," one aunt said warmly. "Serve your husband's family well and they will cherish you." Asha lowered her gaze, whispering, "I will." That night, the newlyweds entered their decorated room. The bed was covered with flowers, the air heavy with fragrance. Asha sat nervously on the edge, waiting for Arjun to speak. She imagined he would hold her hand, whisper sweet promises, and dream of their future together. Instead, his tone was firm, almost commanding. "From tomorrow," Arjun said, removing his turban, "you must wake before dawn. My mother expects breakfast on time. After that, clean the courtyard, fetch water, and assist with the household chores." Asha blinked, startled. "Tomorrow? But it's our first night. Shouldn't we?" Arjun cut her off with a sharp look. "This family is not like others. Here, the daughter-in-law is responsible for serving everyone. That is your role now. Understand?" Her heart sank. "But I thought—" She stopped herself, the words heavy on her tongue. He leaned closer, his voice low but unyielding. "You married into this house, not just me. If you want respect, do your duties well. Otherwise, you will bring shame." Asha sat frozen, the jasmine garland slipping from her hair. The night she had dreamed of for years had turned into something else entirely, a warning, a command. Outside, the village fireworks cracked the night sky, a celebration of union. But inside, Asha felt a quiet dread settling in her chest. She whispered to herself, "This is not what I imagined." And though the wedding was over, her true journey, one of pain, strength and defiance, had only just begun. The morning sun crept into the room, painting golden lines across the floor. Asha stirred, her body aching from the long wedding rituals, but her heart still clung to fragile hope. Perhaps last night had just been a misunderstanding. She turned toward Arjun, but he was already awake, buttoning his crisp kurta. "Get up," he said, not even glancing at her. "Mother wants tea in 15 minutes. Asha blinked. "Me? But I've never made tea the way your family drinks it. Maybe your sister." His voice cut like a blade. "My sister is not a servant. You are." The word struck her harder than any slap. She sat still, stunned as he tightened his cuffs and left the room. Downstairs, the house bustled with voices. His mother barked orders. His father cleared his throat impatiently. Asha descended slowly, clutching the railing, her red bridal bangles jingling nervously. Finally, her mother-in-law sneered. "The new bride shows her face. Go girl, the kitchen is waiting. Don't stand around like a princess." Asha forced a polite smile. "Yes, Maji." Inside the smoky kitchen, she struggled with the brass kettle, her hands trembling. She remembered her mother's soft voice teaching her recipes back home. But here, every movement felt like a test. Arjun entered briefly, his eyes cold. "Don't embarrass me. Do everything my family asks without question. That's why you're here." She whispered, "I thought I was here to be your wife." He ignored her. As she carried the tray of tea, she stumbled slightly and a cup rattled. His uncle snorted. The bride has no grace. Let's see if she's at least useful in the kitchen." Her cheeks burned. The laughter around her table felt like knives. That night, she curled on the edge of the bed, silent tears wetting her pillow. Arjun read a newspaper, unmoved. Finally she asked, "Am I your wife or just a servant?" He folded the paper calmly. "You're my wife. But in this family, wives serve." The words echoed in her head long after he turned off the lamp. Outside, crickets chirped, the village at peace. But inside Asha's heart, storms were beginning to gather. The next weeks blurred into a cycle of exhaustion. At dawn, Asha rose to fetch water from the well, balancing heavy pots that bruised her shoulders. By noon she scrubbed floors until her knuckles bled. At night she cooked meals while the family laughed around the table. Her only reward was silence. No word of thanks, no smile of appreciation. One morning as she bent over the courtyard floor, her mother-in-law hovered above. "You missed a spot. Do it again." Asha's wrists ached. "Maji, I. Again?" Arjun passed by, briefcase in hand. Asha looked at him, pleading silently. But he didn't even pause. "Do as she says," he muttered before walking out. The days grew heavier. Even the walls of the house seemed to whisper mockery. The neighbors, passing by, often peeked in to see the new bride scrubbing or carrying wood. "She thought she'd live like a queen," one neighbor whispered loudly, "but look at her, a maid in her own home." The words cut deep. One evening, while grinding spices, her hand slipped, and the pestle crushed her finger. Blood oozed. She gasped, holding her hand out. Her sister-in-law wrinkled her nose. "So clumsy. Clean it and get back to work." That night, when she finally lay in bed, her body throbbed with pain. Arjun turned his back to her, already asleep. In the darkness, she whispered to herself, "Is this my fate? To work until I break." The silence offered no answer, only the endless weight of her new life. One afternoon, while serving tea, Asha overheard her husband speaking with his cousin. "How's married life treating you?" the cousin chuckled. Arjun smirked. "She's useful. Works hard. The house has never been cleaner." The cousin laughed. "You mean your maid in bridal clothes?" Arjun didn't deny it. He raised his cup proudly. "Exactly." The words pierced Asha like arrows. She froze behind the doorway, the tray trembling in her hands. She had dreamt of love, partnership, respect. Instead, she was reduced to nothing more than the girl. That evening, she confronted him timidly. "Why don't you ever call me by my name? I'm Asha, not just the girl." Arjun barely looked up. "Names are unimportant. Roles are. Your role is to serve. Accept it." Her lips trembled. "And what about love? Don't I deserve that?" His eyes hardened. "Love doesn't feed families. Obedience does." The room spun around her. She bit her tongue, swallowing the scream rising in her chest. Later that night, as she washed the dinner plates, her mother-in-law barked, "Hurry up, girl. Don't laze about." The word echoed, "Girl, girl, girl." Never wife. Never Asha. In her dreams, she saw herself trapped in endless corridors, running but never reaching the door. She woke in tears, whispering her own name into the dark, afraid it would disappear. By now, the village had begun to notice. The neighbors often lingered by the gates, curious about the new bride. "She's always working," one woman said with pity. "Never seen her smile." Another sneered. "She thought she was marrying into wealth. Turns out she's their servant." Their whispers reached Asha's ears as she swept the courtyard. Her face burned with shame, but she kept her head down. If she paused, someone from the family would scold her. One afternoon, as she carried laundry to the well, 2 children giggled nearby. "Look, the new bride is carrying clothes like the washerwoman." Her eyes stung with tears. She bit her lip and walked faster. Inside, her mother-in-law fanned herself lazily. "People are watching you," she said. "So work harder. Make this family proud." Proud? The irony twisted in Asha's chest. Proud of what? Her suffering? That evening, while serving food, her father-in-law remarked loudly, "A wife's true worth is in her service." And ours has learned quickly. Everyone laughed. Everyone except Asha. That night, lying alone, she whispered into the silence, "One day, they will see me differently. One day." But for now, the walls whispered louder than her own voice, mocking her pain. Days turned into weeks, and the cruelty sharpened like a knife. Asha's mother-in-law, Kamla Devi, made sure the new bride never had a moment of rest. One morning, Asha presented the breakfast she had carefully prepared, parathas golden and crisp, served with fresh chutney. She smiled nervously as Kamla Devi took the first bite. The older woman spat it out dramatically. "Too salty. Are you trying to poison me?" Asha gasped. I measured carefully." "Lies." Kamla banged the plate on the table. "Do it again. And this time, don't waste food like some careless girl." Arjun looked up briefly from his newspaper but said nothing. His silence hurt more than the insult. Later, as Asha washed clothes by the well, her sister-in-law strolled by. You thought marriage would give you jewels and silk? Poor thing, you only got dirty laundry. The women of the neighborhood laughed. Asha's cheeks burned, but she bit her tongue. That evening, Kamla Devi summoned her again. Clean the kitchen. Every pot must shine. If I see a single stain, you'll redo it. Asha's hands were raw, her nails chipped, but she scrubbed until the brass gleamed. When she finally lay down, exhausted, Kamla Devi's words echoed in her head. You're not a bride, you're just help. Asha whispered into the darkness, how much longer can I bear this? The answer came in the silence, longer than she thought. The relentless work soon caught up with her. One chilly morning, as she carried buckets of water, her knees buckled. The world spun and she collapsed on the cold ground. Her sister-in-law shrieked, Get up. Don't lie there like a lazy cow. But Asha's body trembled with fever. She could barely whisper, Water? Dragged inside, she lay shivering on a mat. Arjun entered, his face twisted with irritation. What is this drama? I'm unwell, Asha croaked. He folded his arms. Unwell? So what? The family still needs food. Get up and cook. Her eyes widened. Arjun, please. I can't even stand. His voice rose. Don't test my patience. A wife who cannot serve is useless. Tears rolled down her burning cheeks. She wanted him to hold her, to care for her, but all she received was cold commands. That night, as her fever raged, she heard the family laughing over dinner. No one brought her food, no one asked if she was alive. Alone in the dark, she realized her life meant nothing to them, except the work she could do. By dawn her fever had broken slightly, but her heart remained heavy. As she scrubbed the floors, her tears dripped silently, mixing with the soapy water. Her mother-in-law walked by and smirked. Look at her crying into the dirt. Pathetic. Arjun, passing through, muttered, Stop making a scene. People will think you're ungrateful. She wanted to scream, to demand love, respect, anything. But instead she kept her head down. That night, sitting alone in the kitchen, she whispered to herself, Is this marriage, or slavery? Her voice cracked, but no one heard. Only the fire in her chest began to stir, small but burning. One afternoon, while hanging laundry, Asha heard a familiar voice. Asha. She turned, and there stood Ravi, her childhood friend. His eyes widened at her pale face, her calloused hands. My God, he whispered. What have they done to you? Asha forced a smile. I'm fine. Fine? You look like you've aged 10 years in 2 months. This isn't marriage, it's chains. She glanced nervously toward the house. Please lower your voice. If they hear. Ravi stepped closer. Asha, you deserve better than this. Remember how you once dreamed of teaching children? Of opening a small school? Where is that girl? Her throat tightened. She's gone. No, he said firmly. She's still here. Just buried under their cruelty. Before she could reply, Arjun's voice boomed from the doorway. Who is this? Ravi met his glare. A friend. One who remembers her worth, even if you don't. Arjun's jaw tightened, but he said nothing as Ravi walked away. Asha's heart pounded. His words had stirred something inside her, something dangerous. The following week, the family gathered for a grand lunch. Relatives filled the hall, laughing, boasting, enjoying the feast Asha had labored over. When the food was served, Arjun snapped his fingers. Asha, kneel and serve tea to the elders. She froze. Kneel? Yes, he said loudly so everyone could hear. Show them your respect. That is your place. Gasps rippled through the room. Her mother-in-law smirked, clearly enjoying the humiliation. Asha's hands shook as she held the tray. She stared at the steaming cups, then at the faces waiting for her to obey. Her chest tightened, her vision blurred. She remembered Ravi's words, remembered her tears, her pain. Something inside her snapped. No, she said softly at first. Then louder, no. I will not kneel. The room fell silent. Arjun's face darkened, his pride wounded before his relatives. What did you say? Her voice trembled, but she stood firm. I am your wife, not your servant. I will not kneel. The air crackled with tension. For the first time, Asha had defied them. And nothing would ever be the same again. The silence after her refusal hung heavy in the hall. The relatives looked at one another, whispering in disbelief. A daughter-in-law refusing to kneel? It was unheard of. Arjun's uncle cleared his throat. Did I hear right? The bride said no? Kamla Devi's eyes narrowed into slits. Yes. This shameless girl dares to insult us. Asha clutched the tray tightly, her knuckles white. She could feel her legs trembling, but her voice did not falter. I came here as a wife, not as a servant. I will serve with love, but not with humiliation. Her words sliced through the air. Arjun rose abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. Asha, he roared. Do you realize what you've done? You've shamed me before my family. One of the aunts gasped. She speaks like a city woman, not a dutiful wife. But Asha lifted her chin. For the first time, she looked into her husband's eyes without fear. If respect is only earned by losing myself, then I choose dignity. The room erupted in murmurs. Some were scandalized, others curious. A few women even exchanged faint smiles as if secretly cheering her courage. Arjun snatched the tray from her hands and slammed it on the table. Enough. Yet deep inside, Asha felt something she hadn't in months: strength. Her body shook, but her spirit stood tall. And in that moment, the first crack appeared in the chains that bound her. That night the storm broke. Arjun paced the room like a caged animal, his pride burning hotter than fire. You humiliated me in front of my family, he shouted, slamming his fist against the wall. Do you know what they'll say about me now? That I cannot control my wife. Asha sat on the bed, her hands folded tightly in her lap. Her voice was calm, but her heart raced. I am not a thing to be controlled, Arjun. I am a person. Your wife. His eyes flared. Don't lecture me. Wives who disobey must be corrected. Before she could move, his hand struck her cheek. The sting burned, her head snapping to the side. Tears welled instantly, but she did not cry out. Slowly she turned back, her eyes meeting his. For the first time, her silence was not weakness, it was defiance. Arjun glared, expecting her to break, to apologize. But she simply stared at him, her face pale yet unyielding. You may strike me, she whispered, but you will never crush me. The words chilled him. He turned away, muttering curses, but his anger had failed to break her spirit. That night, Asha lay awake, her cheek throbbing, her heart heavy. Yet inside her, a fire burned stronger than ever. The house slept peacefully, but Asha did not. She lay wide-eyed, staring at the ceiling, every insult replaying in her mind. Her mother-in-law's cruelty. The neighbor's gossip. Arjun's slap. Her chest rose and fell rapidly, her breath uneven. How much longer can I live like this? She asked herself in the darkness. She sat up, her hands trembling. The room felt suffocating. Even the ornate wedding jewelry on the dresser seemed to mock her. She had worn those bangles as a bride full of hope. Now they chained her to misery. She rose and walked quietly to the small window, pushing it open. The cold night air kissed her face. Beyond the courtyard walls lay the village, the road, the unknown. And freedom. Asha pressed her hand to her chest. For the first time, she allowed herself to imagine life beyond these walls. Working for herself. Living without scorn. Breathing without fear. Her tears dried as the night wore on. By dawn, her decision was sealed. She whispered into the breaking light, I will leave. The next morning, she moved carefully, deliberately. She packed only what she could carry: 2 saris, her mother's old scarf, and a few coins hidden in her blouse. Her heart pounded as she folded the bag. Every creak of the wooden chest sounded like thunder. She half expected Kamla Devi to burst in, scolding her as usual. But the house was still. She stood at the threshold, her hands shaking. Memories flooded her mind, the wedding laughter, her father's proud smile, the dream she once had. And then the endless chores, the tears, the slap. Her jaw tightened. She opened the door. The morning air was crisp, filled with birdsong. She stepped out, her bare feet brushing against the earth. For the first time she felt the weight of the chains lifting. She whispered, goodbye. And with that she walked toward the road, toward freedom. As Asha walked through the village, eyes followed her. Men paused from their work, women peered from behind curtains. She's leaving her husband's house, one woman gasped. Shameful, another hissed. A wife who cannot endure isn't a real wife. But some voices were different. Look at her, whispered an elderly neighbor. She walks with her head high. That takes courage. Asha's heart raced, but she did not stop. She felt every gaze, every whisper, yet each step grew steadier. Children ran alongside, giggling. Where are you going, bride? They asked innocently. She only smiled faintly. Somewhere better. When she reached the village gate, she paused. Behind her lay humiliation, cruelty, and despair. Ahead lay uncertainty, but also hope. She tightened her grip on the bag and walked forward. For the first time since her wedding, she felt alive. Asha's feet ached as she reached the nearby town by noon. Dust clung to her sari and hunger gnawed at her stomach. With nowhere else to go, she remembered Ravi's words and sought him out. He opened the small tailoring shop he managed, surprised to see her. Asha. His eyes widened at her weary face. You really left? She nodded, her voice trembling. I had to. I couldn't breathe there anymore. Ravi ushered her inside, offering water and food. You're safe here. Stay as long as you need. Though grateful, Asha felt uneasy. I can't depend on you forever. I must earn my way. He smiled softly. Then start here. Do you remember how you used to stitch clothes during festivals? You had a gift. Her heart stirred. She remembered her mother's patient lessons, the hum of the sewing needle. She nodded slowly. Yes, I can do this. That night she stitched a torn blouse Ravi gave her. Her hands shook at first, but soon her old rhythm returned. When she finished, the garment looked nearly new. For the first time in months, Asha smiled. It was small but real. She had begun again from zero. Word spread quickly. Within days, women from the neighborhood came asking Asha to mend saris, alter blouses, and design small pieces. Her neat stitching and eye for detail won admiration. You have magic in your fingers, one woman praised. With every coin she earned, Asha felt her spirit lift. She bought her own food, her own clothes. She no longer bowed before scornful in-laws or waited for scraps of affection. One evening, while Ravi locked up the shop, he said gently, Do you see now? You don't need them. You can stand on your own. Asha looked at her calloused hands, now marked by work of her own choosing. Yes, she whispered. For the first time I feel free. The days turned brighter. Customers returned, bringing more business. Soon, Asha saved enough to rent a small room of her own. As she placed her first earnings in a small wooden box, she whispered, This is dignity. This is mine. The spark of independence had ignited. Back in Arjun's household, chaos brewed. Without Asha, the chores fell upon Kamla Devi and her daughter. Meals turned late, clothes went unwashed, the house grew messy. Relatives gossiped mercilessly. So proud, yet they can't even manage their own home now that the bride has left. Arjun's business also suffered. With the constant whisper of scandal, clients avoided him. His pride, once towering, now crumbled. At dinner, Kamla Devi slammed her plate. See what that ungrateful girl has done. She's ruined our name. Arjun's voice was hollow. She was only one woman. Why should her absence matter so much? His father glared. Because she worked like 10. And you never valued her. Arjun's chest tightened. He remembered her eyes, the way she had defied him yet stood dignified. For the first time, guilt gnawed at him. The mighty family, once arrogant, now stumbled under the weight of their own cruelty. One evening, as Asha adjusted the hem of a sari in her shop, a shadow fell across the doorway. She looked up and froze. Arjun stood there, thinner, weary, his eyes filled with something unfamiliar, humility. Asha, he began, his voice low. I've come to take you home. She straightened, her needle poised in her hand. Home, she repeated coldly. That house was never my home. He stepped closer. I was wrong. We all were. Without you, everything has fallen apart. Please, forgive me. Come back. Her heart pounded, memories flashing, his commands, his slap, her tears. And then her newfound freedom, her earned respect. She shook her head. You want me back because you need me, not because you love me. Arjun's eyes glistened. I realize that now. Do love you. I just didn't know how to show it. Her silence hung heavy between them. The choice was hers. The entire village gathered outside, murmuring as Asha faced Arjun. Ravi stood nearby, silent, ready to support whatever choice she made. Arjun knelt before her, his pride gone. Please, Asha. Come back. We cannot survive without you. The crowd held its breath. Would she forgive him? Asha looked into his eyes. For years she had longed for this, a confession, a plea. But now it felt empty. She had built her own life, her own strength. Her voice was steady. I was never your servant, Arjun. I am not a tool for your family to use. I am my own. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Some cheered softly, others stared in shock. Arjun's shoulders slumped, his head bowed. He knew he had lost her forever. Asha turned, her chin high, and walked back into her shop. The women of the village watched in awe, inspired by her courage. For the first time she wasn't defined as a wife, a daughter-in-law, or a servant. She was simply Asha, strong, free, and unbroken. Her story had ended, but her new life had just begun. Liked it? Thumbs up, subscribe and join the AfriHeart fam. Your support fuels our stories. Until next time.